So why do we teach our girls, the younger generations, don't be ambitious, just blend in, be like everyone else, do not stand out. I think we need to do the opposite. We need to honor the word ambition. And this is why I want to be able to say, here's to ambitious women, here's to ambitious girls, but also anyone who has, for whatever reason, any reason, who has been made to feel like they cannot have ambitions. They are not allowed to have dreams. Anyone who has been looked down upon, put down in their place, anyone who felt that way, I hope you will never, ever stop being ambitious. So the word I want to talk about today actually came from you, from one of my listeners. And it came as a suggestion from a female academic whom I respect a lot. And she's someone who's quite senior, in a senior position, and very successful, talented and very well respected in her career. And yet she said to me, why don't you talk about the word ambition? And that's interesting to me because I think it is a word that is on the minds of so many women from different disciplines for reasons that I'm going to talk about. Also, please, if you have any suggestions, if you want me to talk about certain words, do feel free to share them with me. Now let's look at the roots of the word. Ambition comes to us from Latin, from ambitio, which could mean walking around or moving around. But it can also be interpreted as walking around in order to get some recognition, even power, even honor. So at the root of the words, there is a restlessness, like you don't know your place or you don't want to be confined inside the limits that are drawn in front of you by birth, right? Which is quite interesting. But in many cultures, for instance, where I come from, Turkey, the word ambition has quite negative connotations, especially when used for women. So an ambitious woman is regarded as someone cold and calculating, and she's very selfish, self-centered, if not greedy. She wants to be dominant, if not even domineering, right? And I find that interesting that when it comes to women, we don't want to see ambition. But of course, it's not only in Turkey. Across the world, we can see this gender duality being repeated again and again. And there's a series of studies conducted in different universities in America, including Columbia University, for instance, or Harvard University. And almost all of them show us the same thing, that ambition in men is celebrated, but ambition in women is regarded as something to be criticized. At Columbia Business School, there is an interesting study that has stayed with me, in which the professor of the class, Professor Flynn, he distributes handouts to the students, focusing on a case study. Actually, it is the same case study, but written in two different ways. In the first case study, the person at the center of the case study is called Heidi, is a woman. And in the second one, it's exactly the same situation, the same personal traits, but the person at the center of the story, let's say, is called Howard. So in the case of Heidi, the students don't like her much, but in the case of Howard, which is exactly the same case actually, the students like him and regard his traits, his personal traits, as a positive thing, even though they have exactly the same level of ambition. Before preparing for this talk, I did a little research of my own, and I looked at the word ambition with regards to novels and writers, how it's being used by critics. And it's very interesting, wherever the word ambition has been used in a positive way, like this is an ambitious novel, it encompasses a great canvas and deals with major themes, used in such a positive way, they're almost always referring to a male writer. And then the word ambitious writer is used in a negative way to criticize, almost always for women writers. And that is very interesting. Also, I think across the history of literature, we have seen how ambitious female characters have been punished over and over by authors, usually by male authors, especially as you go back to 19th century, early 20th century classics. The most famous example that I can immediately give you, of course, is the case of Madame Bovary. Emma Bovary is married to someone who is a bit boring, who's a bit dull, who doesn't have any ambitions in life, but she herself has ambitions and she's not content. She wants to go out, move around, and she wants love, she wants romance, she wants passion, excitement, and yes, she wants sex as well. And for all that, at the end of the book, she is punished. She has to drink arsenic, and she has to suffer a painful death. So it's interesting to me how this notion of ambition in women not being good is being repeated again and again as a cultural code. But I think it's possible to think of ambition in a completely different way. I always think of what Martin Luther King wrote in one of his letters. He said, "Mother dear, one day I want to turn this world upside down." And I like that kind of ambition, the kind of response that you give in the face of inequalities, injustices, when there's a lot of hurt and pain, and you want to be involved, and you want to be engaged, and you want to do something about it. You don't want to be indifferent. You don't want to be numb. I think that kind of ambition is not a bad thing at all. So why do we teach our girls, the younger generations, don't be ambitious, just blend in, be like everyone else, do not stand out? I think we need to do the opposite. We need to honor the word ambition. And this is why I want to be able to say, here's to ambitious women, here's to ambitious girls, but also anyone who has, for whatever reason, any reason, who has been made to feel like they cannot have ambitions. They are not allowed to have dreams. Anyone who has been looked down upon, put down in their place, anyone who felt that way, I hope you will never, ever stop being ambitious.
Say